Yes, thanks for joining me today. So, my name's Dr. Andy West. There's my UTS email if you'd like to contact me during or even after. And as we're going along, more than happy for you to ask questions. Either put your hand up, well, I'm in gallery mode, so I may not see everyone, or put things in the chat would be good as well. And we'll stop along the way and be able to answer those questions. So I'll be presenting for about 30 minutes and then have time for Q&A at the end. So the whole point of this particular episode in the series Teaching with GenAI Showcase is to set out, first of all, my motivations for why I have aimed to integrate GenAI, not just chat, but also image and video generation into a subject that I teach at postgraduate level. Also, give a bit of an overview of where I see GenAI as it's used in organisations and more specifically in marketing. And we see that there's really an imperative for GenAI to be integrated in what we deliver here at UTS. Not just from our side, maybe putting lesson plans and things like that together, but more getting the students in there and actually using it. I'll show some examples where I have integrated GenAI into my subject, and then if we have time, I've got some tips at the end around the use of image and video generation, and show you a prompt that I did to create an image and see how we go from there. Hopefully we'll have enough time for that. But before we get started, I have a bit of an icebreaker. And maybe you remember this ad. It's from 2005, and it's sort of makes many lists of the most popular Australian ad. And I often start with this one in the class. So my subject is innovation and creativity in marketing. And so I'll just play this video, and I'm sure we've seen it before. But as we're going through, you could think, what are the creative elements of this TV advertisement? Who's the target market? Why do you think it was popular in 2005? And do you think it's effective? That is, does it reach its objective? So just think of those few things as we're going along, and then we'll maybe put things in a chat or have a bit of a discussion. So we're sort of getting in our mind and critiquing creativity. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to stop because I may not have shared with sound. Just 1 minute. Trick for young players.
Feel like I'm about to watch the Gruen transfer, Andy.
I'm no Will Anderson, I can tell you that. Not nearly as good looking or as funny as him. Okay, hopefully it'll sound good.
Dad, why did they make it the Great Wall of China?
That was during the time of Emperor Nazi Goring, and it was to keep the rabbits out. There's too many rabbits in China.
Okay, now Daniel will do his talk on China.
Right. So if anyone wants to put their comments in the chat or even unmute yourself and answer one or any of those questions, what do you think? Why is it effective? What makes it effective? Okay, so thanks, Alejandra. Creative elements, use of relatable situations. Yes, very much a human component. I'd agree. I have read on this. They actually were targeting parents, so it's getting people. You can see the brief would have been to the creative from Telstra. we want to be able to, we've got this broadband, we want to have a reason for, in particular, the families to start to sign up to broadband and use the internet. The point being that it was 2005. Of course, not everyone had broadband. Okay, so targets. So yes, David, I agree. The silence at the beginning, it's beautiful pacing, isn't it? The way it just sets the tone of that humdrum drive to school with the road noise there, the ticking from the dog. It is relatable, so it probably is effective. Yep. Yes, Scott, I agree. So it's the old, still probably a cliche, making fun of dads and dad's ignorance. Always funny. Nasi goreng, absolutely. There's the element of humour, so it cuts through, because the whole thing with creative messaging is we want to be able to cut through, in particular now with more social media. And also, I agree, Simon, it's that quirkiness and being in the in-joke of the Australian humour. Exactly. Thanks, David. I'll take your word for that on history there, on history. I'll call you the expert. So we can see there that, there's a whole lot of different components to it. There's a particular target market, which would be there in the brief. The reason I use the word effective is often there's an objective that's set out. Maybe it's achieved, maybe it isn't. Apparently, not only did this win many awards, it was humorous, but it also was very effective, that it boosted sales for Big Pond. As far as the elements are concerned, also, there's the particular logo there and the reinforcement of Telstra, and also the little whistling at the end, and they use that over and over again to reinforce it as a bit of brand association. So whenever you hear that whistle, you think of Telstra Big Pond. Okay, so we can see that there are different components. So as students go through in this particular subject, what they're aiming to do is get a brief from a client and then come up with a campaign. In the past, it was sort of text-based. Then we, sort of 3 years ago, we were using image generation in its first instance, such as DALL-E and Midjourney. This subject's been running, incorporating GenAI for the last 3 years, and also now more recently looking at a little bit of creating reels through the use of video generation as well. So if we have a look at what my motivation was to incorporate the generative AI into this particular subject, if we look at our model of learning at UTS, there's 4, I think, main components, but I've highlighted 2. One is that it should be practice-oriented education, and so we're working with external partner clients, and the whole assessment follows the process through which receiving a brief to making a pitch of a particular campaign to the client, and also research-inspired and integrated learning. So the idea is that we are able to keep applying academic rigour, but also that cutting-edge technology. And there's not much more cutting-edge technology in marketing than the use of generative AI. There's also been a whole lot of different research done around this, especially as far as the impact on higher education as far as academic integrity is concerned. And so, especially when it's text-based, that's an ongoing issue. This is the beauty of having image and video. It's more around the students show their prompts and how they're able to get that particular output. And then as part of the assessment, they do a reflection in that they critique the output, and we'll be able to critique some output a little bit further along in this presentation. Also, I spoke a fair bit with industry and asked what they're doing, and I continue to keep in contact with different associates and friends that are involved in advertising and marketing. And also, there's been research around this when looking at occupations, that the overuse of generative AI, use of this in cognitive and sensory skills, lends to this brain fog and this laziness that we develop. So the whole point is to say that we should use generative AI, but also know when it is to be used as well. And so one of the terms that I saw and continue to see is the idea is that we can't just set up automation, and especially in marketing automation, there needs to be a human in the loop. And so that comes in at various stages. And whenever going through and having a look at this, whether it be the initial assessment or question of ethics and guardrails, looking at the analytics, and also the creative process, there was always front of my mind in keeping humans in the loop. So another piece of solid piece of work out of the US was from the Digital Education Council. I was talking to Anne just before people came along. Maybe those of you involved with keeping up to date with generative AI follow Ethan Mollick. He's one of the people that was involved in putting this together, and there's some great minds out of the US that are working on this. And so they put together this AI literacy framework that was specifically not just for organisations, but also for more specifically as a guide for universities. So I've just taken out a few slides here and where I sort of drew on it, and also maybe some recommendations for UTS as well to go to the next level. So one of the things you'll see here is that yes, we can start at dimension 1 and understand AI and data and incorporate critical thinking and also the ethical and responsible use. But the other important thing is this human centricity, this human in the loop in generative AI, and interestingly, having an understanding of emotional intelligence and how we interact with generative AI. Now, it's interesting when ChatGPT-4, which developed this very sort of warm way of dealing with people and was very complimentary, moved to ChatGPT-5, a lot of people complained that they didn't like the cold clinicalness of ChatGPT-5, and in fact, OpenAI had to change the tone of the responses from the ChatGPT. And so that's definitely, we're having this relationship when we are putting prompts in and interacting with AI, and emotional intelligence is very important, as it is in marketing more generally. And then there's this fifth element, which we can go off and think about domain expertise. So when developing material for a particular subject, they recommend that we apply effective communication strategies, keep the human in the loop, and identify the opportunities for human-centered skills and foster creative thinking. And so I really drew on that. And then at the next level, which we're not quite there, is establishing the guidelines for the whole of the education institution. Once again, at this level, the AI application in teaching and learning, as we can see, there's a whole lot of things that I've aimed to do in not only embedding GenAI, but also develop the students' digital literacy in the course curriculum. But at this level 3, we can see that there's more not only faculty training, but also a whole framework that's implemented for GenAI across the whole university. And when these sorts of things are implemented, it's important to have the resourcing there for training and of the staff, and also the guidance that we have, not only we have at the moment around academic integrity, but also maybe more ways how this may be implemented at a subject level, but when looking across course learning outcomes and see if GenAI has been integrated. Anyway, so I sort of took quite a lot from that DEC AI literacy piece. These next few slides then show sort of where we're at as far as organisations are concerned. And this was a piece of research that came out from Microsoft and LinkedIn, and it was really showing that we do need to create work-ready graduates, which I'm sure we're doing, but also the expectation is for them to have Gen AI literacy. So 77% of leaders say early in career talent will get greater responsibilities if they know AI, and they're also more likely to hire a less experienced candidate but who has AI skills than a more experienced one in that particular subject matter. And even 2/3 said that they would not hire someone if they did not have AI skills. And that was at the end of last year, but maybe that's continuing to go up. Okay, thanks, Simon. That's excellent. Yeah, any publications would be fantastic. So that's from the Australian perspective. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So there's a need there out in organisations, but interestingly, organisations are not training, and there is this idea that many employees are going into their employment and doing this shadow use of GenAI and not following the policies of the organisation, not following quality issues. So organisations need to have these guidelines in place and policies in place for use of generative AI, and also to train their employees up in that use, and also the use of authenticated Gen AI. If we have a look at marketing, it's used across the board in many different areas of marketing, such as social media marketing, making it easier to grant brand awareness. And the highest percentage there, this was from HubSpot's international survey in social trends for this year, is marketers plan to use platform native AI tools when they're available. And one of the reasons why I wanted to incorporate more the image generation and short form video generation, as we can see on the right hand side there, the social media content that is using the most Gen AI is the image and short form videos. I even saw a graphic come out that showed that the web today, the internet today, has equal amount of content from Gen AI than is human generated. So we can see there's a lot of, maybe it's AI slop, maybe it's good quality material. But what we aim to do is have our students be able to critique this and be able to move out there and be able to provide quality social media and other marketing material using generative AI. So that's sort of a bit of a background in motivation and what's going on in organisations and marketing. Might just stop if there are any questions at the moment.
There's no questions in the chat.
No questions in the chat. So right. Excellent. And also, thank you very much, Simon. If there are other resources people know, that'd be excellent to put them up there. So if we have a look at this subject, it's through UTS Shopfront, and we've had a range of different companies or not corporations, but organisations, not-for-profit organisations that we've worked with, from the Asylum Seeker Centre. We're currently working with Velocity Empowerment and Strive Motion. And the reason I use that is to get our students working with a client and a client partner and developing that relationship and asking questions and getting feedback. The clients come out 3 times throughout the semester and are there to, first of all, deliver the brief, but also have that client contact and answer questions. But secondly, also to provide the resources for organisations, not-for-profit, that are low-resourced and often come from their particular skill set or speciality and don't necessarily have marketing expertise. And so we aim to help them in putting these marketing campaigns together. Often, though, the third part is often within a very tight budget as well. So this is an overview of the subject. As we can see in the subject learning outcomes, a lot of this around innovation and creative process, idea generation, but also coming up with creative solutions. And there's a list of some of the topics that we get through, more marketing based, in particular, putting a business case together has to be within the budget. The other point is creative questioning and ideation, but also working within a particular primary, maybe a secondary target market, and also consumer personas. And the whole assessment is designed that they'll present a pitch back to the client. Individually, the client will select or give feedback on that around the middle of the semester. They get into groups then and then come up with a final project with a whole schedule. Also, the other important part to this is individual self-reflection, in that they are reflecting on not only the material they've learned and working in a group, but more so the use of generative AI throughout. And there's some prompts along the way there, or some particular periods in which I ask them, how they're going, are they starting to write notes, what did they think, started to prompt them with areas that they can start to put together in that reflection as they start to deal with and learn more from generative AI. In the Canvas, I provide quite a few learning materials. I Some of them I produced, but I just want to give thanks to Fabian Roth and Amara Atif out of Fiat. They've got an excellent suite. There's the main topics in the different in that module around, which is available in Commons, and so that's a very good start for for our students, and I work my way through that. And also Luis Lozano Paredes from the Transdisciplinary School, who's involved with the AI working group in the TD school, and he also provided me with the module, and you can see some of the topics there. And so this is another area where I think we've got Fiat, TD doing some work, and there's people working in with GenAI. It'd be good to have a whole suite across the whole and have access across the whole university on different uses of generative AI, and also these developed learning materials that we can put into a commons area in Canvas and then share. So I always ask students what their expectations around GenAI. Most of them have used it. I think that this has been surveys been done over a couple of years. I think probably this year it'll be 100% saying they use GenAI. Previously, they don't necessarily use AI generators. They're mainly text-based, but they are still concerned about their future, the impact of AI on their future of work, and developing those skills that'll be available for them. Many of them, this is a postgrad, but they're either looking to move up within their organisation, but many of them are looking to move into marketing, and so they're looking at those early entry positions and want to develop their AI skills to be able to use there. The other thing is within this space, it's not only the use of GenAI, but when having discussions, we meet every fortnight and have a 3-hour workshop, there's a space for students to discuss some of these main points. So what is creativity? Can AI be creative? How will it impact on their work in the future? Also the ethical issues and the guardrails that need to be in place, and how we also look at how some of them, the different platforms have less guardrails, such as X and Grok, compared to some of the others like Anthropic, which are sort of designed to have be a lot more ethical and not create content that might offend. And also looking at some of the biases as well that definitely exist, because it's based on the training models of what's available on the internet, mainly from the English-speaking world, so those biases exist. Also, some of the other things around guardrails, what is the best way to interact with them, what are the best prompts, and what are the applications that they can use that as a marketer for the students. So we go through this creative campaign, we receive the brief, they look at some ideation and creative design at first, create buyer personas, which GenAI is good at doing, and especially with the prompts that can be provided, but then more particularly looking at the use case and sort of feeding this back into the concept ideation and working on that on an ongoing basis. It's then the pitch goes to the client. In the first instance, they give feedback, and then on creative idea, and also if they are on track, and then work towards their final assessment. So it's in this middle process that we're sort of using generative AI, but also as a communication piece to the client. So this is some output that has come from the students, and so you can see that there's a particular common theme. Also, there's the use of text. When I first started this 3 years ago, especially Midjourney and DALL-E couldn't spell, but now at least they can. And you can see there's a good consistency with this particular brief that was from a couple of years ago, and there's some high quality output from this particular student. Some of the feedback from the actual industry partners, from Soldren, felt that the promotional campaign ideas created and the project plans provided came up with many new creative ideas to use to their works, and it's definitely worthwhile. One of the other industry partners, though, they thought they gave great creative ideas for many of them. However, the students mainly just reproduced the variations of the information they provided. So that is, the students were good at taking the content, just putting it through generative AI without really thinking themselves and coming up with creative ideas and incorporating those in the prompts. So these are some of the things that I'm looking at for the future. Pardon me. Looking to develop more creative process guidelines, developing more that reflection process, which I have done for this semester. It'll be interesting to see how that comes out. Developing more rubrics so that to incorporate creativity and the assessment of that. And also continue to get more industry input. So far, I've had last year a conference paper accepted at ANZMAC, which was presented. I've got another one accepted for this year, showing the updates. But there really is the opportunity for a longitudinal study, making comparisons as the subject evolves, but also in student focused to see how they went in early career and if they were able to apply that when they went out into the workplace. So that's my little section as far as the subject's concerned. My next few slides based around some tips on using Gemini VO. But I see there's no questions still. So,
No.
so these next few slides, I know they're word dense, but I thought, well, I'll share the deck and can see the amount of information that is in there in the prompt for a particular output that I was able to create. So here's some tips around really any of these image generations, but in particular, this is for Gemini VO, which is what I'm sort of dealing with, and more recently, as people have said that it's sort of gone past many of the others, ChatGPT and Sora. But the point is that these are some of the things that they've been able to update. It's more consistent with the character, so the character doesn't change from one video to the other. The resolution's better, the extension, it's able to get longer than 8 seconds. Also, to be able to assist with that, there's a first and last frame, so you can connect a whole lot of videos together. And also there's more real-world generation and also the ability to edit, remove, edit objects and create a more personalized AI video. So that's the video side of things. And so there are 5 clear points that should be considered when putting a prompt together, whether it be for the image generation or the video generation. One is explain how the camera moves or the particular camera angle that is required. Use words like tracking, close-up, wide aerial, those sorts of things to give an idea about the way the camera will move or the particular angle if it's an image. Who the subject is, and more detail, which ties into marketing as we have a better idea of the consumer persona. It's not only, when we look at developing consumer personas, it's not just demographic and geographic type variables, but if we get into the psychographic and what the emotion and behavior is of that subject and put that in the prompt, you get a much better output sort of from expressions on the face of the particular subject, and even more so how they move in the videos as well. Use in video when describing action, use very clear verbs and not too many, and this gives the scene particular life. Provide the context in which it's going to actually occur, and also the style and ambience. So here's a prompt that I put together for Strive Motion, and so in this you can see I've got a particular who the subject is, what the scene description is, what the particular angle is of the camera, what the mood and tone is, and some of the camera and style details, medium wide angle, depth of field, faces and motion, and also high resolution and what the aspect is as well. And also what it's meant for, which is Instagram and Facebook. interestingly, I did put in there, so there's also movement and laughter. And I did ask for, this is an interesting one, I did ask for a diverse group in the image. And so this is what was produced. And so, yes, they are the ages, right? It did produce the logo at the back and an instructor, but I question maybe the diversity there. But anyway, so it pretty well followed my instruction. And also the other thing is with the editing tool that other text or other aspects can be overlaid as well. And this is one that I actually followed a bit better, was for the other client, which is Velocity Empowerment. And as you can see, it's you can overlay calls to action and stuff like that into the image generation with VO. Yeah, so there are a couple of examples. The next few is final few tips. Interestingly, we started off with that video with Big Pond and Too Many Rabbits. And the reason why I asked you to have a look at the creativity of it is to really think about the other thing that we do with the students is think about the close-ups, the angle, motion that's occurring, timing of each scene. And so to be able to really create these videos, we all need to become a movie director, and which is great for me. I love movies. I love my top directors, and finally, I get to go in there and really think about the view and the angle and the timing and the humour that may or may not be in there, but also directing the characters as well, because you really need to be able to use this language of the director and the cinematographer to be able to get the best prompts. And so that's one part of it. Also, there's another few. It still can't count. In that image I had before, I asked it to put 5 to 6 people. It only did 4. It can't count yet. Also, be careful with human faces. If it's too close up, you can really tell that it's not syncing as well with the audio. That still needs to be fixed. Try different camera movements. Very important to give an audio instruction. There's a whole lot of areas in terminology around sound editing as well to be able to give the right instruction. And also the other thing is to make sure you only do one video particular element at a time. If you tell it to do too many things, it gets quite confused, because you can iterate as you go along as you would with any generative AI. So that's the end of my presentation, sort of covering off why I went into using generative AI in this particular subject, why I think there's more and more of a need of it, maybe a framework that can be put in place not only for individual subjects but across the course and program, and also at a university level, maybe across whole faculties. And then showing how we're able to integrate it. It's an ongoing iterative process with using the output from the students and also giving them instructions on how best to use it, and also improving the assessment as well, because I don't want them just to know how to use it, have that skill, but also want to have for them to develop that creative thinking and also critical thinking as well. And then finally, there's a few tips there. And my tip is to just get in there and play and have a go at these different programs. And also, hopefully, from the university's perspective, that they make this a priority and resource that and build it into work plans. So, thanks for listening. And if there are any questions.
Thanks, Andy. Yes, there is a question from David in the chat.
Oh, that's a very good question, David. Thank you. There's a base level that is free. I use Pro, which I might just jump across and show you very quickly. I had it open before. Disappeared on me. Disappeared on me. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I quickly went online and I could see it says free for students, but then
it is.
But then it has sort of other things, so it just wasn't sure.
Yeah, that Pro, that's the one I use. That's a very good level. And yes, if you have a student, login, and also UTS, students at UTS email, that'd be acceptable. They'd get it for a year. They get to use Pro for a year, which is normally $30 to $34 a month. I now pay the Pro, so I'll just use it and pay that. So I mainly use two. I've got ChatGPT that I pay 30 odd bucks for, and VO as well, and Gemini as well.
And you have Copilot.
Say again?
And you have Copilot.
And of course I have Copilot. Yes, I do. Yes. Yes, so Courtney asked, do the students love it? Yeah, they do. And this is what I like about the design of the delivery, in that we meet every fortnight for 3 hours. And I have a bit instructional stuff at the beginning, but also have different projects. I show them what I do up the front, that we're using those pods, and they get in and work on it with each other. And one thing I'll say is, I'm more a marketing analyst. I'm not a creative at all. And so I'm getting in there and playing around with it. There are some excellent graphic designers in the cohort of students, and they really do some amazing work. I mean, that example I used before of those social media pieces, I thought that was an excellent piece of work that that particular student did, and she is a graphic designer. But she was really thrilled. So to answer your question, yes, she in particular. So some have a bit of trepidation at the beginning, but when they see others alongside them, it's the usual thing that they're able to learn from watching as well, and showing each other tips.
Simone has a hand
Yeah,
up.
Simone.
Thanks, Andy. So interesting there. I mean, we're all playing with AI in our subjects and trying to get students to understand how to use it. Mine isn't as creative as yours, unfortunately. But is this a capstone subject firstly? No.
It's an elective.
Oh gosh,
So,
okay.
yeah, so I have 85 this time, about 85 students in the elective.
Okay, so there's students who are keen to learn and to do it because they've put their hand up. I think that makes a bit of a difference there, because you would think in theory they're willing to test new ideas. And so you don't have that same resistance that you might have in other subjects. Like, I've got some students who have never used it and don't want to use it for ethical reasons. But yes, I don't know if you have any resistance from students.
If there is, I mean, some of them, even as I showed on that survey, that number's coming down all the time, but there are still, like I had 8, maybe there might be sort of 3 to 5% of students who have never used, still have not used generative AI, and maybe they're the ones that have a similar feel. They don't specifically say that to me, but I think being in that workshop, being in those pods with sort of 4 to 6 students, they feel more comfortable and discuss and see what the opportunities are with the other students. So it's like saying, oh, going back to the day, oh, I don't like the internet. I don't want to communicate with others. I don't want to be on social media. That's part of all work now, and I'm sure generative AI, it will be in the future.
And how do you get around the fact that some students use it really well and others just use it as that tool to replace their own creativity?
So is the question?
Well, you did
just
mention that
in their capability, or
you mentioned some community partners said all they're doing is repurposing what we have. They're not actually going off and finding creative solutions. So I mean that's problematic if students are relying on it potentially, or maybe they misunderstand the task and what they're meant to be doing. I'm not sure.
I think that may be generous, because it all the way along, here's the brief, you come up with the solution. But I think it, maybe that is the case. They didn't understand. I think it's more lack of understanding about what new thinking is and your own creativity is. Yeah, I can't say that it sort of follows what our preconceived stereotypes are of those that weren't as creative. I haven't bothered going in to have a look at that. But it is something that they don't understand what it is to use their own individuality. And the point is that from the outset, similar to, when we're running, um, you know, brainstorming, there's no such thing as a bad idea as long as they've got the reasons for doing it and have a go. I mean, there's better ideas and great ideation, but as long as they actually get in there and have a go. Yeah. Okay. So Alejandro, okay. So went the wrong way. Went the wrong way. Innovation and creativity in marketing. So this is an elective marketing subject, and it's in the postgraduate Masters of Marketing. This one's a face-to-face, and delivered in the spring semester. And so, yeah, so it is innovation and creativity. So the whole point is, how can that be incorporated? How can the use of generative AI be incorporated into innovation, which is often at the ideation stage, and then in their own creativity and stuff. And also, thanks for the personal ethical for not wanting seems to be we need to discuss and work on. Yes, I agree. Our students for work readiness, absolutely. But yeah, I think no, that's a really good point. You don't want to force anyone to use these tools, but as I said, that's what I quite like about the delivery. And I think because I'm also the course director for the online, when people are left on their own, they may, where we give them good support through through Canvas and the learning material, maybe there will be that reticence. I just noticed there's a lot of discussion between the students and they really encourage each other. And so it's not only what direction we may give, but it's also that peer support and also that peer encouragement for them to overcome any issues that they might have, which reinforces the reasons why face-to-face is so good and as a delivery.
I have a question, Andy. I
Yeah.
found this very interesting, particularly the work that came out from Ethan Mollick. And I wondered, in your opinion, what might be the best ways in supporting academics in the integration of generative AI into learning and teaching? If you had any thoughts how we, from the education portfolio, might support that.
Right. Okay. I think I'll start by saying I've always had excellent support from Education Portfolio and Alex Labs and now Education Express. I mean, there's great resources there and they're very encouraging when we approach them and they're very supportive. I think for Education Portfolio and Education Express level to be effective, there really has to be like this strategic intent from the top.
Yeah.
And also to resource it, and also for more of a directive to come that this is the direction the whole university is going in. And thanks. Yeah, so I think that needs to be in place because otherwise what the possibilities could be would be stifled. But having said that, I think looking at really cool. I think Education Portfolio and Education Express can be very good at coordinating. Just in my conversations with others, I've come across Lewis and stuff, and he's giving a presentation in a few weeks. So I'll be going along to see that one for sure. And also the work out of Fiat they're doing. And so I suppose there's this coordination to be, often we do work in silos, even within the business school here, we work in silos. So it's important to have that cross-pollination of ideas, but also where the canvas has been developed. And they're very generous. I mean, it's an excellent piece of work and they've just they're free to have a look at it. Similarly, as I hone mine, which I'll do towards the end of this semester, I'll also have that available in the Canvas and Commons section as well. And also, yeah, giving it so coordination and a bit of and also having that framework, as you said, that Ethan and others have done in Digital Education Council, and move forward with that. So it actually, as I said, doesn't go just from the subject level, but goes out more across the whole program.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the CXT project is about that course level thinking, that course wide thinking, and development. And yes, absolutely. Cross-disciplinary is a really interesting space where you come from the disciplines thinking in particular ways, and that cross-pollination is really productive.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, because we've got now. I mean, I suppose that was the first step where we are assuring the assessment, where across the whole program, a certain percentage and certain subjects are face to face and are seen to be more assured against academic integrity. So that's the first step. That's the negative side. The next one would be to actually look across the whole subject and where generative AI is used, and to say, well, we've developed this competency, this capability from this.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thanks. I mean, from anyone here, I'd be really interested in your ideas about how we can support that. You know, people feel that they're an expert in their discipline, and this is another thing that's perhaps outside their area of expertise, and something we need to think of and with. Yep. Okay, are there any other questions? Look, I'd like to thank you wholeheartedly, Andy, for a really interesting and thought-provoking session. Very interesting and very useful, and I've got lots of resources to take away and look at. So thank you very much. I'd like you to join me in thanking Andy. We can use the reactions. Lovely. Thank you very much.
Lovely to see you all here. I'm available if this is an area you're interested in. Please get in contact.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maya. No, that's great.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.